Hi, and welcome to Six Figure Signature Offers, the podcast for women in business who want to create brands that become the hot tamale of their industry and sold out scalable offers that bring home the bacon without burning them out. I'm your host, online business strategist Robin Birkin. I've gone from managing 8-figure marketing budgets and big teams to creating 2 multi-6-figure businesses in part-time hours by design. If you're ready to attract Cloud9 clients in droves, sell out your scalable offers, and not bring your laptop to the beach, then welcome, let's go. Hi, how are you? I am so thrilled to be here and talking with you today. I have the feeling that today's episode is going to be one of those juicy takes. It's going to be all about some of the biggest shifts I've had in my business, because one of my biggest values in business is peace. It's the entire reason why my mastermind is called Peace and Profit, because I started my business because I wanted what I call founder freedom. And I bet that you started your business because you also wanted founder freedom. You want the freedom to be able to go to lunch on a Friday. You want the freedom to be able to say, I don't feel great today, so I'm going to watch Netflix. You want the freedom to do what I'm about to do, which is when it's super hot outside, go for a swim in the pool in the middle of the day. But you also want that low mental load that comes with founder freedom. When your kid has a sick day, you are not begging and bartering with your husband about whose job is more important. When you were working or are working in corporate and there's all this pressure of events and long hours and having to stay late, and you want the ability to, from time to time in your own business, say, actually, no, I am going to go forth and create and enjoy a business that feels super easy breezy. And then a couple of things happen. One, you get sucked into the vortex of scale, grow a team, go bigger, double your revenue year on year on year on year. And you get sucked into the vortex of more without really understanding what you truly want in life. And I always have, I guess, as one of my biggest personal values, contentment. So not necessarily happiness and the pursuit of happiness, but actually sitting in contentment and being able to be okay with now. And so what does it look like to have a business that feels really great, that looks really great, that operates really well now, and gives you that freedom? But the other thing that happens to us in business is, I think from time to time we can get sucked the other way, which is almost that we need perpetual freedom, and that therefore if I'm a founder, that means I don't have to do anything in my business, like anything that I don't feel like doing or that doesn't feel great or that feels uncomfortable, I can just take a step back and not have to do anything. And the happy spot is somewhere in the middle. So what does it look like to have a business that doesn't feel stressful all the time? Because it can really quickly feel stressful. It can feel stressful when you feel like things aren't working. It can feel really stressful when it feels like you've been doing this for a long time. You're an expert. You know exactly what you're talking about. Yet here you are and you're not where you want to be financially in business, or you are burnt out. You're at a place of burnout from just seeing client after client after client, or patient, or whatever you call them. You are burnt out from the constant transference of energy between clients, and you're like, hang on a second. I want a lower mental load. And I always say that my business is one of the least stressful parts of my life. We're in the throes of a renovation, parenting 2 young children. All of the things are happening all of the time. And I want my business to feel easeful. That doesn't mean that everything I do is easy. That doesn't mean that everything I do turns to gold. That doesn't mean I don't make missteps, because I do. And this episode is telling you all of the missteps that I've made and the ways that I feel are better. But it does mean that by and large, my business feels easeful. It feels like it's not constantly swirling in my brain. And so therefore, I've got 8 things that I do to make my business feel like a very low mental load business. And in turn, because of that, because of the things I'm going to share with you today, those things create more revenue for me and save me more time so that I can have Fridays off, so that I can take off early. So that yesterday, for example, I took off early from work to take my kid to the dentist so that we can have lots of family holidays together. All of those incredible things. Now, very quickly before I dive into the meat and potatoes of today, 2 things. Number 1 is I logged in today because I was looking for a past episode and I saw that you have so kindly been submitting ratings for me on Spotify. So the ratings seem to go up, like we've had more people submit ratings, more reviews on Apple Podcasts as well. And I just wanted to say the biggest thank you. So that to any podcaster out there, you know, and I know that when you have ratings, when you have reviews, it always makes you feel kind of special inside. And when you see those things increasing, that too makes you feel like warm and fuzzy inside. So I appreciate you. One of my goals this year, or one of the mantras that I'm using is, if you want a village, be a villager. And some of the ways that I'm doing that is doing things like leaving podcast ratings for other creators, being the type of person that has conversations in the DMs, who comments on other people's posts, who goes down Instagram, and I'm super liberal with my likes. Giving likes costs nothing. It also costs me no extra time. So when I see posts, I am a liker and I'm like, let's just bring back the social in social media. Let's create villages inside the mastermind that I am part of, because I know that inside my mastermind, when several people are sharing their wins, it helps, number 1, everyone get more into the mindset of sharing their wins, but it also gives you a direct line of feedback as a mastermind creator. It shifts you as the contributor's mindset because you feel more like you're celebrating. And inside my mastermind, we have a weekly celebrations thread, and I commit. Every week I go in and I post my celebrations, which then in turn spurs other people to celebrate as well, etc. So anyway, those are a few things that I'm doing. I saw that some of you have kindly submitted some ratings and reviews, and big thanks. I see it and I appreciate it. And then the other thing that I was going to say before I get started, which is something that I'm going to speak to at the end of this podcast. If you're listening right now, and if you're still listening, you're probably deep inside. You're like, low mental load business. Yes, please. But I work with many women who, and arguably this is something that I think might happen a little bit at the start of business. I think mostly at the start of business, you're looking to have one niche, one thing, but mostly you get a couple of years down the line in business and all of a sudden you are multi-passionate, or you get bored really easily and you want to start new things and you want to do new things. So in the context of today's episode, please don't mistake what I am telling you in terms of the things that have worked for me as, not being able to satiate you. If you are the type of person who, maybe you're a manager, whatever you are, but maybe you are the type of business owner who feels multi-passionate, who maybe also feels conflicted in what it is that you want to do, I'm going to speak to these things at the end. So if you feel like you're multi-passionate, you get bored really easily, and you're like, I want the low mental load, I want the founder freedom that I signed up for, but how do I temper that between this urge that I have to, as an inherently creative entrepreneur, manager, maybe neurodiverse person, how do I also temper that between the urge to be a creator and create new things? So I'm going to speak a little bit to those 2 things, some of the things that have worked for me and that I have seen work for a number of other clients, because a lot of clients will come to me with lots and lots of offers, lots and lots of different passions, and we kind of work out a really happy medium in between when we work with them in the mastermind. So let's dive in. So I've got 8 things to share with you today about how to create a low mental load business so that you can increase profit, save 10 hours a week, and stop feeling so stressed. My best results in business and my most happiest results in business have always been when I have simplified things. Radical simplicity is always the best way to operate in business. And a lot of people think that scaling means adding complexity. And in actual fact, I have learned that scaling a business, the more you grow your business, the more you kind of want to simplify your business. So it's all about, when you're scaling, finding out what are the core things that really work and really drive the needle so you can drive them more rather than adding more and adding more and adding more. So here are the 8 things that I do, that I've found, the lessons that I've learned. Number 1 is always trying to have offers that are at the more premium end and having at least one significant offer in your business that is based on recurring revenue, or that is optimized for recurring revenue. So in that, it can still be painful, and you can internally at your end sort of spread those payments along. But what you will typically find is it's going to be some form of business structure where someone is not making to you a super low payment once and once only. So you might have a membership of some form, you might have a premium type of membership like a mastermind, but you're ideally going to have some form of offers that are designed to bring in recurring revenue to your business. So my goal, and the goal for the types of businesses that I create for women inside the Peace and Profit Mastermind, is that we want to begin each month with about 6 months, ideally, of revenue locked into the business at 10 to 20K per month. So you are starting each month already feeling really great that your expenses have been paid. You're going to be able to pay yourself. If you don't bring in any new money in the month, it's fine because everyone is still going to get paid. All of the things are still going to happen. You can rest and you can relax because you don't feel at all like you are chasing any kind of money. So case in point, just last July, I had a month off in my business. So from time to time, we have time off in the mastermind and people's contracts get extended to accommodate that. So this time we gave everyone what we call a focus and free month. So we kind of just pause the mastermind. For you, that feels like extra time, incredible. You get a bit of breathing room inside the mastermind. For us, we get to work on internal things, and I get to also work on making sure that I am showing up as my fullest, most energetic, creative, brain switched on self. So last July we had time off in the business. It was school holidays. My kids had 3 weeks off school and we were going up north to somewhere that had very scant signal. So we have now decided, I think I spoke about this in a couple of episodes back, that we will get a Starlink from now because I still want to remain connected in many ways. But for other reasons, it's also tax season here, so just really wasn't feasible. We had a lot of government reporting to do, and that was super hard with very limited signal. Anyway, I had a month off last July, and I still had between $10,000 and $15,000 come into the business in that month, with like ditto the following months secured. I cannot tell you what that does to your nervous system when you start the month just knowing your wages, everything is going to be paid. So if you want a low mental load business, a business that feels like one of the most easeful parts of your life, let's say all you have is $97 one-off offers, that's really hard because bringing in that new revenue in many ways is reliant on you churning and churning and churning. So you can absolutely have, if you need a low ticket membership, you can have lots of Facebook funnels, you can have all of the things. But when you have an offer that is designed to bring in a reasonable amount of revenue that covers everything, super low mental load. Number 2, generally less offers. When I look at myself, when I look at my clients, and the times when my clients have felt the most easeful in their business, it's when there's less moving parts. And having more offers, to my mind, is always the hardest way to run your business because there's always so many moving parts. So I can think of 2 specific occasions when I have a really cold offer suite. So one of those was 2018, and I was only 6 months into my business. I'd had the podcast already at that stage for a couple of years, just casually as a, passion project. But I was 6 months into my business. I was freelancing. I had one-to-one clients. I had a group coaching offer. I had low ticket products. I was doing also single sessions. I was doing all of these things. And I then reached massive burnout when my husband, Ross, ruptured his spleen. It was a grade 4 rupture, and he spent September of 2018 in and out of hospital. So he spent a week, he came out for a week, he re-ruptured his spleen, had a massive infection and had to go back into hospital for another week. He was then 4 months off work. In that same month, my youngest daughter had viral wheeze. If you have a viral wheeze baby, you know exactly what this is like. It's like asthma for babies and toddlers. And so viral wheeze, very quickly, she would get an infection like a cold. It would so very quickly move to her airways. And by quickly, I mean she might be fine in the morning, and by 11 a.m. I'd be rushing her into hospital. So September 2018, Ross in hospital for a week, then came back like totally almost bedridden. He had, I think, 1.5 collapsed lungs, not in a good way. At the same time, Olivia was really sick, and she spent 2 weekends or on 2 occasions, she had to go into hospital overnight. So that was super stressful as well. They literally tag teamed every single weekend in September. At the same time, I had a toddler. I had just started, I'd been headhunted for a part-time role, and it was like a startup marketing role. It was an hour and a half away from home. That was probably like one of the most stressful periods in my life, at the same time as I had this collection of all these different offers and all of these things going on. So I was like, cannot do it. And I quit the whole business. I had a black square with the words "the end" on Instagram. And I wrote "the end, that's it, can't do it anymore," like blah, blah. And I half went dark until whenever it was, November or December, when I was like, hang on a second. And one of my colleagues at the time reached out to me. She was like, I thought you said you quit. Why are you still always showing up on Instagram? And then I decided I would just run this one offer, the Fertility Warrior Intensive. And I then changed it into an online course rather than a live group coaching offer, like accelerator type offer. And I was like, holy shit, this feels so different and so much more easeful. It was like night and day, going from having all of these clients. I literally fired all of my freelance clients, all of my one-to-one clients with love, but I had to stop all of that and then move on to the next chapter of my life. And to be able to manage looking after 2 young children, sick husband, on and off sick child, all of the things that life demanded, it just wasn't feasible to do all of those things. Well, the spoiler alert was that my business was not only more easeful, but so much more successful when I did that. Who'd have thought? Because I actually had the time to do things. And this was at a time when, because I had the part-time job and all these other life shenanigans, I only had about 5 or 6 hours per week to commit to my business, reached 6 figures, then reached multiple 6 figures, and I had only really increased to about 10 hours at that time. So then, probably on multiple occasions, I have culled back my offer suite to just focus on the Peace and Profit Mastermind. We are here again when the goal in 2025 is for me to just double down on the mastermind. Why? Because there are less places for me to show up and support people. I can keep a track of what support people need inside my programs because I only have to go to like one portal and have a look. There is less context switching in your content, in your lead magnets, in all of your belief shifting and the core messages that you're trying to get across. You're just trying to speak about like this sort of one topic all of the time and really double down and solidify your expertise on this one topic. You have less sales asset creation and you're not sitting there in the weeds of like optimize this sales page, then optimize this sales page, then go back to optimizing this sales page and then this sales page. You're not doing that. You're not sitting constantly just like bouncing from one to the other. You just get to focus on one and then maintain that. Get that to a level where everything is working and then be like, sweet, move on to the next thing. Less offers is one of the biggest hacks in business to my mind. Get one premium-ish, hero, scalable, signature offer. Double down on it. You can definitely have premium profit drivers on the back end, but when you have it at a front-facing level, this one premium-ish offer, everything in your business gets far more simpler. I can think of multiple clients off the top of my head who have come into the mastermind with, oh my God, so many offers, and the ease that has been created by simplifying and narrowing their offer suite, even if so sometimes initially they're resistant to that. And I'm never the person that will steamroll your business and be like, there's only one way to do this. At this point, I've got 25 years experience. Like I've seen it all, I've done it all. I can make almost anything work. However, they then will come to their own conclusion at a certain part where they're like, oh, hang on, I see the light. I see why this is actually draining my energy and not the most successful way to structure my business. They will organically be like, let me cut down. Oh my God, it's amazing. So there we go. And the other thing is you want bigger numbers in your programs. So rather than having 5 people in this offer, 5 people in this offer, 5 people in this offer, if you double down and had 30 people in one offer, client momentum breeds more client momentum. So having everyone in one place working towards the same goal or goals is actually going to result in a better experience for your clients as well. Plus, there's less to update. So one of the things that we do inside the mastermind is we teach a lot of Facebook ads. A lot of people will come into the mastermind and want to learn how they can start leveraging ads because they have realized that trying to organically get leads all of the time in business is a really exhausting way to run a business. But as you know, or no, maybe you don't know, the Meta ads interface changes constantly. So if you had a Facebook ads course and this course and that course, and especially if they're courses that don't. So for example, in the mastermind, a mastermind is an intentionally high ticket place. I am coaching people through every day. I'm giving really personalized and nuanced advice. So we have a lot of resources inside our curriculum to support everyone with. But the difference is because I'm providing a lot of personalized support, if, for example, the Facebook ads interface changes every 2 weeks, it's actually not so much of a problem if I'm not right on top of that every single day in the curriculum in comparison to if I had an online course only type, you only had the curriculum. If I only had the curriculum, no coaching, no support or anything in my program, that's got to be kept up to date constantly, right? And then if I have multiple things that are all moving parades, you then think to yourself on the outside, this is a very scalable offer because it doesn't require any delivery. But if you've got a lot of offers and a lot of moving parts and the training that you are providing is constantly changing, well, you've just replaced clients with constantly updating curriculum. Maybe that's what suits you, maybe it doesn't. But if you have less offers, that's obviously going to be so much easier. The next thing is less tiers. So there was a point last year, and I've very quickly shut it down, where I had in the mastermind. Hang on, let me just circle back for a second. I already offer the mastermind in both AUD and USD. So USD because for a very long time, the majority of my clients, and I'm talking like 85% of my clients were from overseas and predominantly the United States, followed by Canada. So made sense for me to charge in USD. Still makes sense for me to charge in USD because it's the most globally recognized currency. Between everything that's going on in the globe right now and between seeing an organic shift to naturally more people from Australia joining the mastermind, I now also provide an AUD option. So I already offer presently the mastermind in AUD and USD, and I offer payment plans and pay in full. Standard, right? Well, last year, I have when was it? Like early 2024, I did also have a VIP and a standard tier. Last year, for the shortest period of time, I dabbled in offering a VIP and a standard tier, as well as a 6 and a 12-month offer. So the majority of people will join the mastermind. They'll join for 6 months and then quite often extend for another 12 months, so up to 18 months, right? And some people have stayed with me for years and years. Some people have stayed for like 18 months and then said, okay, I'm great. I graduate, they'll hop away for a while, they might come back, etc. And I very much believe that 12 months is a very great length of time, especially when you are looking to shift your revenue from something that is primarily client-facing, services, agency, like client work, to something that's a scalable offer. Sometimes it takes time. Like you want to build that audience. You're going to be rinsing and repeating and iterating, etc. 12-month thing, right? But had landed with, is it AUD or USD? Is it pay in full or is it payment plan? Is it VIP or is it standard tier? Is it 6 months or is it 12 months? It was almost like anytime I was on a discovery call or someone would say to me, what's the investment of the mastermind? I would have to stop and think because I didn't know what the investment of the mastermind was, right? So if you're at that point where you're like, oh, hang on, what is it again? That's already the point at which it's too complex. If you have to ask yourself that question, that's wrong. No. So very quickly at that point, I reverted back to canned the tiers. There's a clear one way that I believe gets the best results for everyone, that ensures we deliver exceptional customer service. We roll with it. That's what we go with, right? And if anyone asks me the price of the mastermind, I can obviously very clearly tell if they're Australian or USD. Sometimes my Canadian friends prefer AUD as well. And it's very easy for me to just quote the payment plan price. Simple, right? Simplicity is where it's at. And so if you also then mix that with other offers, it's like a matrix. At the point at which it's confusing for you, it's far too confusing for your audience as well. Number 4, lead magnets over low ticket offers. And this might be controversial. I love low ticket offers. I think they're exceptional. I think they do a great job at converting people. I personally love buying a low ticket offer, especially if it's a launch debrief. I love them. However, there's a problem with low ticket offers that I cannot ignore. And this is why I always favor, including in my own business, lead magnets over low ticket offers. If you want a business that has a low mental load, when you create a low ticket offer, you have to be so much more switched on every single day with exactly what's happening with your Facebook ads, because you're getting a much lower volume and you're investing more. So if it's not delivering a return on ad spend or even just breaking even, you need to be on top of that. You can't just let ads roll for like 2 weeks because the stakes are high. You're spending a far more amount of money. They take about 50 iterations to get right. They stop working after a while. And you have to create all of these other assets to support them. You've got to be creating the sales page. You've got to create the checkout page. You've obviously got to create the offer and the portal that goes along with that offer. Any supporting emails for your clients. You then have to create the ads. You then have to create the bumps and the upsells and all of the other things on the other side of the funnel. It just very quickly becomes very complex. So then if your ad isn't working, you have to be really quick at making iterations to adjust that funnel. Versus a low ticket offer, you probably have something in your arsenal right now that you could use as a low ticket offer. You can absolutely get a Google document up within the day, and the ads are generally more rinse and repeat. They're much easier to create, and they're much easier to ensure that you get a really good cost per lead. All over, lead magnets are just easier, and you don't have to be as switched on all of the time in order to get them to work. Number 5 is kind of like part of my ads magic, which is using organic content and mock-ups for your lead magnet ads. I roll with a very simple ads funnel. It's very different to what a Facebook ads manager will teach you, and it's specifically suited to women who create the type of businesses that I create. Sweet 6 businesses at $250,000 to $500,000 with a scalable signature offer, rinse and repeat live launches. This is a Sweet 6 business. When you run a Sweet 6 business, you do not have to mess about with all of this complexity in Ads Manager and these complex ad scaling structures. You can, but you don't need to. So I have a particular way that I run my ads that ensures that my ads work really, really well. It helps us test ads very quickly and get a sense of what is going to work and what is not going to work. And ads are one of the hardest working employees in my business. So using ads, but then having a really simple process to running ads is such a hack. Ads work 24/7. They're doing the asking that maybe you don't want to do in terms of getting people to sign up to your offers, getting people to join your wait lists. They're constantly trying to optimize, especially in the age of Andromeda, which is the new way that Facebook ads work. And then I have this bread and butter ad structure that works super, super well. It's very rinse and repeat. It's exactly what we say to our clients. And that's why our clients also run pretty easy ads and have fairly easy launch campaigns. Number 6 is rinse and repeat live launches, or this new structure that I'm playing with and loving so far, which I'm calling rolling and regulated, which is a rolling intake. So if you are on my email list, you're going to be seeing some of how I'm doing that in real time, but I am rolling with a rolling monthly intake. It's so easy. I'm seriously, I'm in love. Everyone in my mastermind is getting the play-by-play of exactly how it's working, what we're doing, what our benchmarks are. But we're in the testing phase right now. So stay tuned. In about 90 days, I'll be able to share some of the experiments of how it's gone and how I'm finding it and have made it work really well. But when you have rinse and repeat campaigns into your business that are fairly frequent, you turn your business into a very kind of rinse and repeat model. You get into a rhythm, this cyclic rhythm with your business. You get to iterate, build systems, have a rest, then go again. The problem that I see a lot with a lot of people who I speak to online is there's this desire to go evergreen or create passive income. Now, if you want to know more about what I think about evergreen versus live launching, tune into episode 133 because I speak in depth literally about evergreen versus live launches. But evergreen funnels lack life. They lack true urgency in their funnels. And they can take a lot of iteration. It's kind of, and in the same way as passive income, you come into evergreen funnels usually because you feel exhausted, because you feel allergic to selling. Maybe you have a whole bunch of mindset stuff going on about selling. Maybe you've had launches that didn't work and you have launch burnout and you're looking for a solution to that. And then you realize once you launch an evergreen funnel or some form of passive income, digital products, whatever, that actually they're the opposite of what it is that you had intended, which is you wanted not to feel like you had to sell, where in actual fact, evergreen funnels is basically the process of selling all the time. And so when you're showing up on social media, it feels like you're constantly like pushing to get people through that funnel, and it's like a leads hungry funnel. So I love rinse and repeat live launches, like regular live launches. We get to stack cash. We have this renewal based offer, or it has a continuity offer on the back end. So people join us in this offer and then hopefully stay with us for 1, 2, 3 years. And we get to have this really sort of beautiful business, but it comes with the momentum and the life and the genuine urgency, scarcity of a live launch model. Chef's kiss, it's the best way to run your business, right? So one of the things that has simplified my mental load is being able to have that on and off switch in my business as well. I can switch off to just having fun with my social media, to just providing free things and feel like I'm providing so much value, to rest and have a break and feel like I don't need to be on all the time. So that is one of the ways that I really reduce the mental load that I have in business. Number 7 is I'm at mentally where I'm at. So is this 100%? No. But is this something that I generally try to practice? 100% yes. When I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids. If I've got a record podcast day, I'm recording my podcast. If I am in client delivery and serving my clients, I am in client delivery and serving my clients. And so I try to be mentally where I'm at in that time. So when everything bleeds together, that's when everything starts to play on your mind. There feels like there's very much chaos inside your mind. Part of allowing that to happen is having very clear structures and boundaries in your work life and also your personal life. So, for example, I have a very clear cadence for the way that I run my business. Let me explain a little bit of that to you. I do not take client calls on a Monday. I take all of my client calls Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I do not work at all on a Friday. That is when I do all of my life admin. I pay bills, I run errands, I do all of those things where possible, always on a Friday. I mentally switch off from my business on a Friday outside of one thing, which is supporting my mastermind clients in Slack. Also, week 4 of every month, which is what I'm in right now, is a call-free week. This is when I do a load of catch-up and sales and marketing for my business. So I will sit here, I'll batch out the podcast episodes. I feel very, not selfish, but able to be able to deep dive into my business rather than feeling snowed under by clients all the time. And then I will hold client calls in weeks 1, 2, and 3 of the month. This is how I run my business, and it works so well for me. It works so well for my mental load. The last thing that I do is I follow what I call the EAAD framework. So number 8, the last one that I run with is the EAAD framework. So I used to call this the EAD framework, but now we're adding in AI into that mix. Now, always in this order: eliminate, automate, AI, delegate. Now, you can use agents to automate some parts of AI, but generally AI and automation is not the same thing. They're very different. And in my mind, a lot of what will simplify your business and create less mental load is automations, not AI. I have a spicy AI episode coming up in the next kind of episodes along the lines of some of the changes that I am making into the way that I'm using AI. And then the last one is delegate. But do not use AI to just add more work to your workload. If you want a low mental load business, you want to just do what is effective in your business to help you get to the revenue that you want to get to, and adding on a whole bunch of random AI crap into that flow that isn't actually doing anything or yielding any results is not going to help you create a lower mental load business. So anyway, eliminate. What are the things that you are doing in your business that actually are not generating a result? They're not moving the needle. Maybe people aren't consuming it. People aren't fine. Like, it's just busy work at this point because you've given it a shot. You've given it a red hot go and it hasn't yielded you the results. Well, should you be doing this? Is this something that you should be continuing doing in your business or not? Then, if the answer is yes, I should be doing it, and maybe there are some ways that I can make it more efficient, then you can look at, well, can this just be fully automated? Like, if this is a repetitive task, where can I use Zapier or Make or even just the automations inside my existing CRM in order to automate this? Let me give you a case in point. Let's say you have a monthly subscription to Tailwind and it publishes your Pinterest posts. You get a monthly inbox, like receipt via email. And you go in and every month you go and you drag that across to the invoices folder. Well, you can create rules. Whether you have Gmail or Outlook or whatever, you can create a rule in your email inbox that says, if I get an invoice from Tailwind, move it to this folder. Boom, it's automated. You never have to do it again. You don't have to sync up your AI to do anything because it's an inbuilt system that already exists inside your mailing software that allows you to do that. You do little tiny tasks like that 100 times in your business. You touch it once, you never have to touch it again. You can create rules in your accounting software. When I get this monthly email from invoice from Slack, code it to here. Boom, never have to sit and manually reconcile that again. So that is automate. The next one is AI. How can I leverage AI to do this faster rather than doing it manually? And obviously, can I also leverage an agent to do that? Understanding and whether you feel comfortable with security concerns, etc. So is there a way that I can leverage AI to do this faster, smarter, more effective? And then, only then, delegate. Then you delegate to another person. Every time you delegate to another person, we add complexity. So always in that framework. So those are the 8 things. Now, I hear you, my multi-passionate Manny-gens, thinking that, but I have lots of passions. I want lots of offers. I love having lots of different things. I want to have 2 niches. I love manifestation and also horse grooming, and thinking too, but I want both of those things. Look, I have a very clear and possibly not very popular answer for this. And then I'm going to speak to how do you not get bored is, would you prefer to be, which hill are you going to die on? Would you prefer to be multi-passionate over being rich and having 3 days off per week? Which one are you more committed to? But your multi-passionate personality or your revenue goals and freedom goals? And then the next question that I will ask you is, what makes you think that every passion has to be a business? You could, just as a hobby, just to contribute to society, you could publish a blog all about all of the incredible tips you know about horse grooming. Or you could join a club for manifestation. There are all sorts of things that you could do. You could just be an avid reader of that topic, but not every passion that you have needs to be a business. And actually trying to make every passion that you have a business could actually be part of what is creating a high mental load and more stress and more pressure than what you need. It may feel like absolute relief to just be a contributor to something at a hobby / passion level, so much less pressure. And then the next one is, how do you not feel bored in business if you just have everything super simplified, if it's all very rinse and repeat? And here's what I would say. The natural tendency that many of us have is to create interest/momentum in our business by launching new offers. But what I would actually encourage you to do is instead focus that diversity, that learning, etc., into the top of funnel. So if you are then branching out into new social channels, really diving deep into new social media strategies and visibility strategies, leaning into more lead magnets, the more you can divert your diversity into the top of funnel rather than into the bottom of funnel, in actual fact, the more success you will have. So what we ideally want is like this one core sort of steady product. And if you have something like a mastermind like what I have, I get to teach on lots of different topics in the mastermind. I get to help people at a very personal level. So I have some diversity within that. But then mostly the rest of the business, very, very rinse and repeat. But I focus most of my diversity on things like learning new Facebook ads techniques, learning more about top of funnel, learning how to, for example, increase the SEO growth of the podcast. So I dive into the top of funnel diversity far more. That is this episode. It has been a whopper, but if you are craving a truly low mental load business, I hear you and I see you and I am you, because it's the exact type of business that I love. And when you have that safety and that regulated nervous system around your business, it makes just life so much easier as well. So I hope this has been super helpful. Reach out to me on Instagram if it has. And again, big thank you to everyone who has submitted that 5-star rating. I appreciate you so much. Have the best day.